Ghost Ships. Part 1. From Mystery Diaries. When it comes to describing the discovery of the apparently abandoned Mary Celeste in 1872, words like spooky and unsettling simply don't cut it. This brigantine merchant ship was found in the Atlantic Ocean with its cargo and valuables completely untouched, packed with 6 months' worth of food and water, but not hide nor hair of a single passenger or crew member. Though its contents were wet and it was a bit worse for the wear, the ship was still seaworthy after being out for just a month. The fact that all reasonable explanations, from storms to piracy, seem to have been ruled out has spurred more outrageous theories of alien abduction or sea monster attacks. Today, the fate of the Mary Celeste remains one of history's most famous and puzzling maritime mysteries. Was it mutiny, piracy, communists, or a bizarre supernatural experience in the Bermuda Triangle that robbed the Carol A. Deering of her crew? This 5-masted commercial schooner was on its way back from delivering a load of coal from Virginia to Rio, and during a supply stop in Barbados, the first mate was arrested for making threats against the supposedly interfering and not-so-sharp-eyed captain, but was released on bail and forgiven before the ship moved on toward its destination of Norfolk, Virginia. The ship was spotted when it hailed the Cape Lookout lightship in North Carolina, and a man with a foreign accent on board told the lightship's keeper that the vessel had lost its anchors. But the next time it was seen was when it ran aground in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, the crew, their belongings, and the lifeboats all missing. The crew was never located, and the U.S. government has never come up with an official explanation, though they did consider foul play by rum runners or communist pirates set on capturing American ships. Today, conspiracy theorists often use the Deering as an example of the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, despite the fact the ship was far away by the time the crew disappeared. When a classic-style schooner unlike any seen in Italy before was found off the coast of the island of Sardinia with no crew on board, it seemed like a repeat of the Mary Celeste, but this is no seemingly mythical tale from ages past. Spotted by the Italian Coast Guard in 2006, this ghost ship contained a half-eaten meal of Egyptian food, French maps of North African seas, a pile of clothes, a flag of Luxembourg, and a wooden plaque bearing the name Bell Amica. Italian authorities found that the ship had never been registered in any country. Because the ship was misidentified as an antique in the press, a tsunami of public interest surrounded the case, but it was soon revealed to be a modern yacht belonging to a Luxembourg man who likely didn't register it for tax evasion purposes. Murder, mutiny, and rotting fish, the story of the High Aim 6 is a strange one. This Taiwanese ship was found drifting in Australian waters without its crew in 2003, though plenty of fuel and provisions remained on board, along with the crew's personal belongings and a hold full of stinky seafood. A forensic examination could find no sign of a struggle, and a search of 7,300 nautical miles turned up no clues, but 10 days after the ship was discovered, calls were still being made from Indonesia on the cell phone of the ship's missing engineer. The only crew member ever tracked down claimed that the captain and engineer were murdered and the crew headed back to their homes, but no reason was ever given. A lot of illegal activity goes on in the world's oceans, from illegal fishing to human trafficking. So, when mysterious ships of unknown origin turn up, they're automatically suspicious. The Jian Seng is just one such ship, spotted drifting into uncharted waters near Queensland, Australia in 2006, but once Australian customs officials boarded the ship, they couldn't find evidence of recent human activity at all. In fact, the ship had been stripped, with its name and identifying features painted over, and contained nothing but a large amount of rice. Ultimately, since no owner could be found, the ship was intentionally sunken. The MV Joyita may have been an unsinkable ship, but she wasn't immune to other problems. With 25 passengers and crew on board, the Joyita disappeared in the South Pacific in 1955. 5 weeks after the ship was reported overdue, it was spotted off course, partially submerged and missing 4 tons of cargo, including medical supplies, timber, food, and empty oil drums. The radio was tuned to the International Marine Distress Channel. The lifeboats were gone and blood-stained bandages were found. Some believed that the captain was injured or killed and that the passengers and crew felt they had no choice but to abandon the ship, but that still doesn't explain the missing cargo. On April 15, 2007, 3 men set out on a journey along the coast of Australia, and 3 days later, their ship turned up drifting toward the Great Barrier Reef with everything perfectly in place. Everything, that is, except for the men themselves, who were missing. Food was set out on the table, a laptop was open and still turned on, all of the boat's emergency systems were fully functional and life jackets hung neatly on their hooks. Since the seas were choppy and none of the men were wearing a life jacket, it has been hypothesized that one of the men fell overboard and the others perished trying to save him. Yet another ship found without its crew was the Zebrina, a 3-mast sailing barge that left a port in southern England in October 1917 with a cargo hold full of coal bound for Saint-Broc, France. When the ship was found in France aground and abandoned but in good shape 2 days later, it seemed that some kind of conflict related to World War I was to blame, like perhaps the threat of gunfire from a German submarine. Did the U-boat that threatened the Zebrina force the crew on board, and then retreat when it spotted an Allied ship nearby? Perhaps. Some people believe that this hypothetical submarine was later sunken itself, hence the fact that Zebrina's crew was never seen again. Now, this ghost ship might be one of the most disturbing of all. The story, which is unsubstantiated, comes from anonymous accounts of a whaling ship called Hope. As the story goes, in 1840, the Hope came across the Jenny, a schooner, completely frozen in ice in the Antarctic Drake Passage. The crew of the ghost ship Jenny was still on board but frozen to death. The captain was frozen at his desk, where an open log's last entry read, May 4, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. Sure, the story of the ghost ship Jenny is most likely at least a little sensationalized, but could it have a basis in truth? These chilling true urban legends certainly did. Thanks for watching, friends, and see you in the next video.